So when we're looking at what this totaling 225,000 plus the 47 to the library is really trying to accomplish, we have some plans that have come out. So recently, one of our goals as Plumas County was to get involved with the Sierra Economic Development District's Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. This is the first time that we as Plumas County have been included, which is really exciting for us both as organizations that work in this area, whether it's county, nonprofit, community-based organizations, or businesses, but as well for moving forward and being able to have like actionable ways to show that development is happening within our region. And so these monies were tied to support these plans, including as well, we have the community action plan for the recreation economy for rural communities. This was a group effort. County was definitely involved, but there are a number of partners that went into this. And though it is namely Quincy centric, there's a lot of things within this that we have come to realize that cannot remain Quincy centric. So it's great to be able to identify those things that are and specific to Quincy. But we've really realized, at least specifically with two of our group goal champions within the plan, that it is a countywide initiative that has to happen. And so we're really excited to be able to take those lessons learned from this plan and apply them as we move forward to rebuilding Greenville and Indian Valley. And then as well with digital access, I just want to read this blurb, and it's best if I read it just because it goes over a great overview of what digital equity and access means. And I think that's something that for those of us that grew up here or have been here for many years as we've seen technology change. You know, I was told that we couldn't get TV because it had to be so high up in the tree. And I know that part of that was just a push from my parents, but a part of that was really the reality for how high it had to be up in order to get service. And then with internet and access and things like that, you know, personally, I remember when September 11 happened, we're tuning into the radio because that's the only thing that we could get. So it's, you know, it's interesting growing up here and seeing the changes and the challenges that we have to adapt to. But we're hoping that with some of these initiatives, they become easier, as well as our pressure and our work for broadband to be continued to go through. So digital equity in the community ensures that all residents have equal access to affordable high-speed internet, digital devices, and the skills needed to use them efficiently, excuse me. It empowers individuals to participate fully in education, employment, healthcare, and civic activities, as well as our business community. A digitally equitable community bridges the digital divide, addressing barriers faced by low-income families, rural residents, and marginalized groups. Collaboration among local government, schools, businesses, and nonprofits is crucial to create these opportunities through digital equity. And so with that, you know, there's some things that one of the pressures that I put on for the library to go through, which was on their wish list of things, are hotspots, and not just regular hotspots, but also their larger hotspots that can accommodate groups. They can pull on more. So if there's an event that's going on and you need more than one point of contact so that your sales are going through, whether it's a fundraiser or something, this would provide a lot more support for events like that. So giving some more opportunity of flexible events around and fundraising and just really giving that opportunity. And of course, there's still conversations of getting a brick and mortar library to fully support not only the business community, but also our residents and our students as they grow and learn, and just looking at the other services that libraries can provide as a place of gathering and space, etc. Next slide. So here, we're going to just briefly look at, this is the summary of folks that were awarded for the Micro Enterprise and Business Assistance and Recovery Grant Program. More information is available online if you'd like. Next slide. So we can see again, District 2 comes in second with awardees. So we're really excited about that representation as we look at rebuild and moving forward. Next slide. And so this is the one that is currently in process. As of the end of January, there were supposed to be these 6 businesses that would have gotten their awards. Right now, you can see that we have 120,000 that is currently obligated, which is approximately 35% of the awards. So Tracy might have an update with numbers when she speaks, but it is still ongoing on accepting applications on a rolling basis. Next slide. Excuse me while I get some water. So now as we look at how some of these additional fundings have come into play when it relates to recovery, as I mentioned, we've had the ARPA and the LATCF funds. These both came from the Treasury, focused post-COVID for local jurisdictions. And so we're really excited about specifically the LATCF funds because of our high percentage of public lands. We actually receive more than a lot of other jurisdictions that would have a higher population, because that was done off of the tax roll and available taxes from privately owned properties. So it's super beneficial for us. It's helped the county be able to continue going through and mitigate some of the rising costs, specifically healthcare is where the county is most applying that. So I've already gone over, let's see those ones. And now some of our other grant programs that are currently in process. We have our Building Rural Economies, which is an exciting program that right now is being focused on, again, Quincy with that rural economy, recreation economy for rural communities plan, as well as a new program that'll be done in Chester called Recharge Our Community's Economy. The exciting thing about both of those is there's going to be significant overlap with our community here to build off of. And it'll be the next, let's say, phase for the implementation here within the community of Greenville, Indian Valley, and other wildfire affected areas. We also have, of course, the ongoing Recover California home building and fire mitigation program. We'll have a slide on that in a second. Some other things that we've been able to do include the Title 25 ordinance, which was to reduce some of our building codes to an earlier date to allow for a more flexible building option for those within all of Plumas County. And then we've also done the accessory dwelling unit pre-approved plans and ordinance, which is super exciting because those plans are available for free. And so they can be used both as primary units and accessory dwelling units. Of course, we cannot ignore the Indian Valley Community Service District's Safety Center project, which Plumas County Board of Supervisors approved $1.5 million from the insurance funds for pre-development and construction costs. So exciting to see that project moving forward. We'll have a long-term recovery plan project updates from Tracy. We're also still currently working through the recovery coordinator position. We are fingers crossed having that come before the board here very soon. It's just been challenging at the county level with some of our HR and dealing with making sure that this is a position that can be fully supported and there will be no pushback legally from that side. So we're just trying to dot our I's and cross our T's on that before it goes live. And then again, with that building rural economies, we also have a community coordinator position that's in the same bucket as the recovery coordinator position. So those will both be going live here pretty soon. We're very excited about that, increasing the capacity of the county on the recovery side as well as economic development. Next slide. So this is from the original discussion that we had on the Dixie Fire settlement funds and insurance funds that happened on October 17 of 2023. So we've gone over some of these, so we'll go to the next slide. That's more of an update. So you can see that we've been awarded a few more. Unfortunately, one of them we were not, but conversations are still going on. That one was for the community center or town hall project. And so, we're still in conversation between the library, between IVCSD, and other very interested partners to see how we can best meet the needs of a downtown Greenville meeting space. And then, on this one here, we have one of our hazard mitigation grant program. We don't have a match yet, so we're still working on that. Next slide. This is kind of an overview of some of the funds that have been coming in that include the grant programs, some of our long-term recovery projects, dollars and how they're going into the production of the actual plan itself. Our Recover California, excuse me, housing and fire mitigation, as well as the other hazard mitigation grants. Next slide. So as we had said, Recover California grant program is still ongoing. This will assist up to $500,000 to get a house built. In addition, there's the fire mitigation for the houses that are still standing and need that additional fire mitigation to help you be prepared, unfortunately, for the next time, if that happens. One great thing is that we were able to adjust the income limits from 80 to 120% of the area median income, which means that more people were eligible for this program. The super cool thing about this is it's not just for home owners as residents, but it's also for landlords if they had rental properties and we're going to be renting to folks within that income, those income limits. So many opportunities as you think and move forward on those. Next slide. So with us looking to the future, you can see there's a lot of ongoing things and a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And of course, like I said, this doesn't negate the work that is going on outside of what has been mentioned here. There's obviously still development going with the safety center. And as I mentioned, with our town hall center idea and concept, whether a library is going to be included in that directly or not, or if it'll be in the same previous spot, still in ongoing discussions. One large topic that has come up throughout the recovery process is energy resilience. As you know, we may have a bad taste in our mouth with those that currently provide us energy. And so looking to options, the county is trying to engage with NG to help start these conversations, specifically on cost-saving methodologies and modalities for the county right now, but really looking at what is the possibility of that. And there are ongoing, with our master infrastructure plan conversations, how these are going to be affecting the future of Indian Valley and delivery of power, water, et cetera. So as I mentioned, broadband is still in progress. The hut, as it's called, is where kind of a relay point. It's still being proposed at the IVCSD Safety Center. I have not heard contrary to that, despite what has been said. So until I hear a no, I will still say that this is the last update that I had. I just received an update last week and it was still of this is happening and this is ongoing. So we're excited about it. And we're going to keep moving forward on broadband as one of our points of focus from the grant manager's office. So of course, there's been a lot of discussion on housing and what's been going on. I'm not going to go too deep into that. I'd recommend you look at the Board of Supervisors meeting from last week. There's a really great presentation that was done by the Eleanor Foundation and their current projects that they're working on. And of course, Plumas County is always continuing to support as much as possible, the Dixie Fire Collaborative and our partners in conservation and recreation, specifically the U.S. Forest Service. And that's where, as you civically engage with Plumas County and make your points known, whether it is through a letter, an email, comment to the Board of Supervisors, particularly around when Plumas County is providing letters of support to projects that are going on public lands. We're really excited to be able to pass those along and represent you as a community in these plans. And we encourage you, when you can, to go make those own comments in the appropriate forums. So whether it's with the U.S. Forest Service and doing public comment through that, we really like those kind of things to keep going on, and we want you to stay engaged as much as possible. And it's important for us to hear your thoughts and your points of view as we continue moving forward. One of the other areas that you can participate in this is we've recently reactivated the Plumas County Coordinating Council, which is a quarterly meeting that happens between Plumas County, the U.S. Forest Service, and other public land interested folks of what's happening, whether it's trails or timber sales or other activities, burns and larger grant programs that are coming through. So it's a great place to be up to date on what's happening on our public lands and to engage there as well. It's a good forum for that. Next slide. So as well, we can see that we have the Town of Greenville and Canyon Dam 2021 Dixie Fire Recovery and Rebuilding Implementation Strategy and Action Plan Report that should be released this month. This is going to be a great just way for everybody to kind of be on the same page. It's a living document as well. So that's where, again, input as we move forward on these ideas is very important. Another program that has been happening is called the California Jobs First. It's a regional plan. It has been released and it's an exciting opportunity for Plumas County to be involved in. Sierra Institute is one of the partners on this and leading this up very strongly. They'd have more information on that if you have questions. And then, as I mentioned, the Sierra Economic Development District Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. This is really giving us some good concrete where do we need to be, and giving us as a community an opportunity to see how these changes can be integrated into many of our strategic plans as we move forward and support the community that we're a part of. It's not only for local government, it's not only for those that are directly tied to economic development, but it's also for the business owner, it's also for the participant. And so just so that you can be informed of what's happening, we always want, as I mentioned, your input, and look forward to be able to represent you in that way in the community. Next slide. So like I mentioned, economic development has really started to come into focus for the county. So we've had an update, and we now have the Plumas County Economic Development element of the 2035 general plan. We also, which is really exciting, to have a one single point of contact for economic development with John Stefanik, our fair manager. And so that was exciting for us to be able to have. That helps us as we move forward with a lot of our planning and documentation. You know, I speak very strongly about Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship and their Connect Communities project that they have going on. I think it's a great economic development and probably the single largest economic development project that is currently being implemented within Plumas, or within the region, within Plumas County for sure. I'd recommend you in one of the links, there's a very nice video that they did, and it did happen prior to the Dixie fire. And so it is, I teared up because he's interviewing, you know, at Anna's Kitchen or Anna's Cafe and like around the town. And it gives hope though, because it's a way for people to be able to get around and get out into the forest in a safe and fun way. And so I'd really encourage you to watch as this grows, to be engaged as the plans come out and see what's happening. I think it's going to be really big for our region for sure. And as I mentioned before, the recent funds of the Chambers and Indian Valley Innovation Hub, that ties directly into those plans that we mentioned as we move forward on economic development, not only for this area, but also for Plumas County. And then I can't get off my soapbox enough about the Building Rural Economies program. Just wait and see, it's going to be fun, and I really encourage where you can to be involved. Next slide. So as we can see, these are just the large totals. We've had approximately $3 million go directly to businesses, and we've had approximately $26 million that have gone directly to housing and infrastructure within the county. So we're really excited about that. Next slide is going to be the fund totals. Yes, they are. There are some things around those numbers that make them either higher or lower, whether it's interest or allocated or to be reimbursed. So just keep that in mind. Jane did a great job of going over that and including some remarks from the next presentation that happened at that Board of Supervisors meeting to help that make sense. Next slide. So one of the things that did not happen from that initial discussion was there was no policy that was adopted. The Board of Supervisors are working on coming up with a policy for spending and allocating and making sure that those funds really truly do go back into the community in the best way that they can, with both legal and requirement things that have to happen one way or another, and then as well just the legal decisions around that to make sure that they can be used in that way. So we're excited to see what that looks like. Next slide. Because, you know, one of the ways could it be a workshop. You know, we did have kind of the first, you could say, public workshop meeting here in Greenville post Dixie fire. And so maybe this would be a great way to at least get the conversation started. So we'll have to see what the Board of Supervisors decides. These funds are currently under the Board of Supervisors as their responsibility. So any further questions on that, as I mentioned, should be directed to them or to our auditor controller, Marty Graham. So if there's any questions on the programmatic part of it, I'd love to take those. Yes.
When you say broadband, is that, are you talking about fiber? We're talking about,
Yes, there are requirements of how fast it has to be, and typically fiber is the best way for that to happen.
okay, so the broadband's not through the towers.
No.
It's gonna be underground.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, those are the requirements for the grants that we're participating in, as it does have to be hardwired. And then there are speed requirements, which I believe is 100 megabytes up and 25 down, which is currently not what most over air is able to do.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes.
I noticed
The amount for the hardening of the homes,
Yes,
up to 75,000, it was 50.
correct.
Is that for people who are already in the process too?
Yes.
Okay, good.
in case I need more.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're working to get some of the SIDS, SEDS grant, I don't know, there's SIDS and SEDS, anyway, the one with the C.
Mhm.
To get projects, elsewhere in the county, outside of Quincy, could you elaborate? Oh, what are you doing to get some of that money or some of that development outside of Quincy?
Right now, it's just in discussion. So we're working with our partners on what's currently in progress. I'd say that my office and the offices that work on these things are pretty strapped for capacity right now. Those two positions that are coming through will help us be able to move forward on some of our more direct economic development activities that might be outside of recovery or ongoing programs.
So that's the next question. Are those two positions being, are you looking at applicants within the county government or outside?
Outside, it would not be a county promotion within it, it'd be whoever submits. So if a current county employee would be interested in applying, great. If a non-county employee would be interested in applying, amazing.
One of them is 1/3 time.
One of them is only 1/3 time, correct?
Thank you.
Yes.
We're almost 4 years in after the fire. We're 3.5 years in, and DFC's spent probably a third of the amount, like we've committed stuff, but a lot of it's just not spent. And it looks like the county spent, I don't know, 10% of the amount, like total 30, you've spent like 3 or 4 million so far, something like that.
No, the only amount of either settlement funds that have been spent out would be the $10,000 for the spay and neuter cat program. The $1.5 million dedicated to the IBCSD, but I've not heard that that has been transferred and or accepted yet. And then there would be another 100 and approximately 33,000 that have been dedicated through the adoption of the budget for the recovery coordinator position. So to date, only $10,000 have been spent.
Right, so we got 30 minutes, so with almost 4 years in, we got started off with 30, we spent 10 grand. In terms of sense of urgency from the board, like, is there anything in specific that's stopping this money like getting spent? Because
the only thing that was said during the meeting would be that they do really want a policy to be in place before any other large commitments are made. So I'd recommend, if you have further questions on that specifically, to talk to your supervisor, specifically the chair.
Yeah, Matt, and so this is this has been ongoing, so that some of the reference material that Zach had was from 10/17/23. And that was when both Deborah Lucero, the county administrative officer, and Tracy Ferguson, the planning director, put together a comprehensive brief at that time to really kind of lay things out. Since that time, there's been, discussion, there's been recommendations, there's been suggestions, but there hasn't necessarily been a what Zach has described as a policy that has put forth. There's been an indication that in mid-March during the budget review and budget cycle, I believe Supervisor Hall had indicated an idea to have a workshop when they're talking about the full comprehensive budget for the county, that they would include a discussion on this. Don't quote me on that, because that's like, it is an idea. It's not necessarily that there was like a motion that said, yes, we are going to do this in March, nothing like that. But it's an idea. Like Zach said, I'd recommend talking to Supervisor Goss with your individual ideas. And you can always come to a supervisor's meeting or second and third Tuesdays of every month and provide public comment on any of the things that have been discussed. This is my recommendation.
Yeah, good question.
You had a slide about the community development block grant disaster recovery funding for, somebody mentioned the fire hardening, but also there is up to $500,000 for home rebuilds.
Correct.
Do you have any experience with people trying to use that yet, and what's it been like? Because in other recoveries, I've heard bad things.
Tracy would be the person to give that.
We're gonna talk more about that, but just a good time. Well, if I'm teeing you up for later, that's fine.
Yeah, actually, I do have some updates on the actual data for the program. So in the single family mitigation program, that's the home hardening, we've had a lot more interest in the home hardening program than the actual single family reconstruction program. So the data is there are 17 in pre-construction for the home hardening, meaning they are, you know, through the intake process, they are through the eligibility process, through the duplication of benefits, and they are in pre-construction, which means a site visit to their home to assess what is their defensible space, as that is a part of the program, and then what, you know, as far as the physical structure of their single family dwelling unit, you know, what is the possibility of home hardening for them. So good news, 17 in that pre-construction, and then an additional 5 in the eligibility phase, and so forth. So a total of 23 then in single family mitigation moving forward. And then for single family reconstruction, we are having less applications, unfortunately, but the program is open. So we have 4 in pre-construction for the single family reconstruction. So that's the $500,000 to build your home back. It's split between, you know, some landlords are coming in, some direct owners, but we have 4 moving forward in pre-construction. Again, that's going to their home, or excuse me, to the parcel itself, and looking at the reconstruction. And then we have 6 in the phase of eligibility and application and so forth. So a total of 10 for single family reconstruction. But yeah, the goals here, actually, if we want to talk about it, and we have a flyer coming up. Maybe we want to talk about the whole thing now. Let's see. Or we have that later.
That's right.
Okay, yeah, so there is a, that's February 21st, next Friday. So February 21st, next Friday, there will be a drop-in 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Dixie Fire Collaborative office here, Main Street, Greenville, or not Main Street, but Crescent Street, Greenville. And so those that are interested in the single family reconstruction, you know, the up to 500,000, again, you know, the 120% area median income, there's the income limits. I have flyers in the back if you'd like to pick one up. And so overall, the goals for this program, so, you know, what did I say? We have 4 moving forward in single family reconstruction, and we have 17 in the home hardening. So overall, in the home hardening, 19 units is what we're looking to fund. With the money we have in home hardening, we have $1.4 million roughly in the home hardening. So we're almost just there. You know, we have, again, applicants coming forward, and that is a countywide program. So doesn't mean that you need to be in the fire affected area necessarily. That's a countywide program. And then for the single family reconstruction, we have $12.7 million going directly to those builds, and 30 units is our goal. And we have 4 in progress. So that's the challenge, is to have those that, you know, want to rebuild their homes, that are income qualified, and so forth. And, you know, whether you are an owner direct loss or you're a landlord direct loss, that this is a great opportunity next Friday to come and learn more about it and the program, and how you may, be rebuilding back. We are also, I will say, talking to the state about, you know, the single family reconstruction program here, having a conversation this month about, you know, the lack of applicants coming forward, and, you know, what we can be doing in promotion and marketing and information, and how we can really be, you know, trying to figure out if there are those that are out there that just don't know about this program, but would be able to benefit, or, you know, fortunately, the CDBG-DR money is sort of last in. So here we are again, nearly, 3.5 years later, and people have found their permanent housing solution. They have moved away, or they bought a home elsewhere in the county, and then that disqualifies them for a rebuild in Greenville, if they still own their parcel. So that's a big challenge. And, we're talking to the state about, well, can we change the rules? Like, what can we do? Or how can we reposition the money for housing specifically in the single family realm? Because we know the direct losses were single family homes. And so to rebuild those single family homes back. Also within the program, there are, potential dollars for multifamily attached product housing. So, what would that mean to reposition some money that way? Or, so we really want to get as many people into the single family reconstruction program as possible at this point, because our goal is 30, we have the money there. But at the same time, we need to be realistic and thinking about, where people are in their recovery with their permanent housing solution and what we can do to best, serve the needs of Greenville today and the housing and so forth. So we are talking to the state to potentially pivot with other strategies. Yeah.
Zachary, do you have anything else? No.
Nope, I'm done, so thank you.
I have, a couple more. So with the Dixie Fire Recovery for Profit Business Economic Development Grant Program, there are some flyers, back here as well. So this program again did kick off in August of 2024, and we saw a progress slide there. We actually now have 10, not 6, we have 10 who are awarded. And next Tuesday, thankfully, I am getting both the grant agreement and the resolution to the Board of Supervisors. So here's my staff report. Next Tuesday, I'll deliver, which talks about, the grant, basically, it's a grant agreement template that we will execute with each individual grant recipient. And so now with 10 at nearly, each of them have reached that near to $20,000 limit. The 22,700 is an incentive bump, but none of the current applicants did receive that incentive. So most are just, bumping up against the $20,000. So now $200,000 of the 567 and change will be committed. So I can read the list. There are 10, as I mentioned. So those that are receiving are Indian Valley Butchers, Young's Market, The Way Baby, Taylorsville Tavern, Mount Huff Golf Course, Region Burger, Knick Knack Lemonade, High Sierra Ballet Academy, Quarter Circle OS Accounting and Bookkeeping, and Mike's Custom Concrete. So those are the 10 so far. Again, welcoming more. This is, yes, you need to live in a specific geography of Greenville, Taylorsville, Crescent Mills, down the Highway 70 Canyon, and you're a business, you're a for-profit business. More information, give me a call. I'm happy. I know I have some other applicants coming in, maybe half dozen or so. So it's really looking positive. This will be open for applications on a rolling basis through March of 2026. So we have some time to still get folks that are coming in, because I know even, we had a push here for the 10 and then, the winter and the holidays. But I think as we come out of winter and into spring and summer, and as we continue to promote the program, and our very own Matt Fogarty with the hotel and the cafe, I know you're going to be, getting your application in as well. So everything you saw up there that Matt's doing, being able to support him with a $20,000 grant would be terrific. And then my last, I guess, is the long-term recovery plan. So we have been working behind the scenes on the long-term recovery plan. I do have a handout, an update in the back. This was an October update. So we had our recovery support function working groups that have been working towards all the parts and pieces of the recovery plan, of course. And we know that recovery has been moving forward regardless of not publishing a long-term recovery plan. A lot of things that Zachary has mentioned, I wanted to hit some highlights, 22 projects on our recovery plan list. Okay, hitting some highlights. So certainly the Indian Valley Public Safety Center was discussed. That's IVCSD, where there's going to be the sheriff's substation back, the fire department back, and Plumas District Hospital is going to have an ambulance area, so an ambulance bay, and also overnight, stays for the ambulance employees. So Zachary mentioned, yes, the board of supervisors did commit $1.5 million out of the insurance money to support that effort. And currently, there's an application in with my department, the planning department, to process a special use permit for what is a public service facility on that parcel. It's a C2 zoned parcel, a commercial parcel. So we are in the comment phase. I want to hopefully get this to hearing in the next 60 days. We're kind of at the very tail end. Caltrans has a couple more comments, so we're working out some Caltrans comments. But other than that, I think we will definitely, getting that project to hearing with what would be a special use permit approval, cross our fingers. I see no issues. I would, as staff, we recommend approval of that with conditions, of course, whatnot, on the project and the parcel. And it's the parcel, it's the temporary parcel today. So if y'all know, basically that parcel being owned by Indian Valley Community Services District, that temporary facilities will then, that's the parcel to become permanent. The Greenville Rancheria Medical Campus. So we know they are definitely moving forward, the medical, dental, and pharmacy, 2-story building. They're on Main Street, and they did have an approved special use permit back in December. So the building plans are in, so they're in kind of the plan check phase. The planning department has approved it. It's over to building for building plan check. It's a little bit more complicated building, being a medical facility, whatnot. The state gets involved. It's called OSHPD. So the county, through the building department, are going to be going out of house to receive some more technical experience in a plan check manner. And our building services director, Michael Coelho, is going to be going before the board of supervisors, he hasn't already, to get what would be a contract for that third party, permit check experience. So good news for Greenville Rancheria, because I know, and IVCSD, both those projects, wanting to turn dirt as soon as possible. But what they need is an approved entitlement with the county. They need the plans to be plan checked and issued or approved, and then they can go out to bid, right? So they need the approved plans to then go out to bid to get a contractor that has certainty on what the approved plans are. And then that's a bid process, right? That's time. And then we can turn dirt. So, let's say, I don't know, if all that can happen here in this construction season, that's tremendous. So hopefully, looking forward to those structures coming out of the ground. We talked a bit about the town center, still conversations, ongoing with the town center and all the cooperative partners there on the Indian Valley Conceptual Infrastructure Master Plan. We know that that is out. That is a published plan as of last year, and that really looking to implementation of all the strategies within that infrastructure master plan for Indian Valley, talking about microgrids, battery storage, photovoltaic solar, geothermal, biomass, Round Valley Reservoir, micro hydro is a whole new concept to generate electricity, and so forth. So good things happening with implementation of the infrastructure master plan. Then also the county, both doing the broadband improvements that Zachary's talking about, and also the electrical vehicle charging stations. So you may have heard that the county is advancing through the Public Works Department, through our Transportation Commission, through state and federal dollars, grants, monies, to actually put in, what is it? I guess it's four EV charging stations at Dame Shirley Plaza. Like, check the box, okay? And one would be ADA accessible. So 3 EV, 1 ADA EV there at Dame Shirley Plaza. So working behind the scenes in planning and building with Public Works to get that done and in the ground. And then as well, I'm a part of what the Public Works Department is working on for a countywide EV charging station call it a master plan, a feasibility study, that sort of a thing. A strategic plan. So where in this county should EV charging stations go? Depending on the electrical load and capacity, economic development considerations, certainly, varying them throughout the community. We know, we're a destination county more so than a pass-through county, so you want to come to Plymouth, you gotta, but I think with more EV and, people that do pass through our county wanting to stay and, and charge and spend some money, right? So that's all good with, in process, what would be a strategic plan. So more information there. Continuing, we have some conversations coming up about the Wolf Creek Community Park concept idea. So yeah, Patrick can maybe elaborate a little bit more, but we're having another check-in meeting here coming up. So that's happening. We talked about Connected Communities project. Certainly, if you're interested, check out the Sarah Buttes Trail Stewardship webpage. There is a draft concept master plan out there that has been published. So, still at the initial stages, partners need to discuss. I mean, there's a lot of land use considerations with the Connected Communities project. I'm a part as the planning director of the county with county lands that we control. Certainly the Forest Service has a huge role to play in Connected Communities. And so the land managers, throughout the multiple counties in which the Connected Communities plan passes through are working together collaboratively there. What else here on the list? 22 projects, a lot going on. So the housing, certainly talking about what is called, the Recover California, just mentioned the home hardening, the single family reconstruction, moving forward. Also, I put in a grant to Cal OES and FEMA for a county home hardening program, monies that we control. The Recover California program, the state controls that money with a partner with the county, but I specifically put in a hazard mitigation grant program called HMGP, Home Hardening Retrofit Program. I am waiting to hear. We have the green light from Cal OES. They're supporting the project. We have the match money. We're ready to go. It's just the federal government. We need FEMA to give us the green light there. And we've been waiting 18 months or so. So we'll see how that one shakes out, but that would bring additional home hardening dollars with the county in partnership with the Plymouth County Fire Safe Council, working on that project. And so really, really great. And we know that on the home hardening side, we have a lot of interest. So that would harden that many more homes. And what was mentioned, the Plymouth Housing Council, I would suggest if you have interest in housing and want to learn more through the Almanor Foundation and other partners, the Plymouth Housing Council is definitely working hard and looking at, workforce housing options in this county and, where those might be located. There are, several ideas to move housing forward with different types of strategies. We definitely need a multi-layered approach when it comes to housing. It's not, and multiple funding sources and streams and so forth. So good things happening with Housing Council and looking to really have more workforce housing in this county. And lastly, on the land use development and patterns, mentioned the Title 25 ordinance. We have had, a handful of homeowners come forward for Title 25. So again, that's lessening of Title 24 building code standards, primarily, not wanting to have solar and sprinklers. So there is a clause in Title 25. It's a very particular home. You need to construct single story, no more than 2,000 square feet, ingress, egress doors at certain distances, whatnot. So check it all out. But that would not require you to have sprinklers. Title 25 already, without the sprinkler clause does not require solar. So yeah, other things happening here. The county, we are going to be here spring, summer. I got a lot of grants going on. So, but these two are coming up for me. The market analysis absorption study and economic development strategy type plan, and then also affordable housing needs assessment. So looking specifically countywide, but also really Greenville, Indian Valley, because as we rebuild, there's a saying, rooftops builds retail. And so you need houses and people then to support the businesses. So, you know, if we have a jobs housing imbalance in ways, we need more housing certainly. And the idea that to responsibly bring back commercial development in a way that the community can support and the population can support, you know, and so forth is what these studies are about. So what kind of housing, at what income levels, you know, in what areas, and then what commercial development would support that population base and so forth. So more information to come, and you know, you think about studies and plans and, you know, get to it, right? So we're doing both. We're getting to it, but we need the data to understand and support, because for decision makers, like the Board of Supervisors, like the state and federal government, when wanting to fund these projects, you know, they're looking at the data. And frankly, the anecdotal data, you know, can also matter a lot. So there's, you know, a lot of stories and, you know, information that we hear, and we need to turn that into hard, raw data. So it's that qualitative and quantitative pieces that really matter in moving forward. And then lastly, one of the slides that Zachary had, I'm a member of the American Planning Association, and you may recall it was, I guess it was August of 2023 already? Yeah, that we had, you know, Tyler Pugh, LMNOP, the interns in town doing, you know, all the work for the town center and the guidelines and so forth. And I, in partnership, had some professional technical planners here in county called CPAT. It's a group under APA, but it's planning professional technical professionals that come in and sort of, you know, for free. They were pro bono in the community, shadowing Tyler and the town center and a process and so forth. And we now have published, I have it, I'll be bringing it to the Board of Supervisors. I'll be socializing it with the District Fire Collaborative. So we'll kind of maybe bring it certainly to another Saturday meeting here, but a report, an implementation strategy report. So they have many recommendations in the rebuild process, economic development, housing, you know, just A to Z, how you actually get to the work. Again, you know, it's a plan to really strategize and on the implementation side, and walking through sort of step by step in an entitlement way or a process way, how you get to the building and the recovery. So I'm really excited to bring that forward, and likely we'll have some of those CPAP members also, you know, present to, you know, provide the recommendations, and that's what they are. They are recommendations. I mean, and guidelines and so forth, but it's really very good technical information for a recovery process. All right, other questions? Yeah, go ahead. No, I don't. So everyone is on a different schedule, I would say. So if you're in contact, if you're in the program and you're in contact with those that are leading it, you know, in that pre-construction phase, you know, it's, I'd say it takes as long as it takes. So. Yeah. So thank you for your patience. You know, it's the state, it's, you know, government works slow. Yeah. No, so to know that you're in the queue and yeah, there's the steps that the state has to go through. And so they're working as hard behind the scenes for you as possible. And you know, with our monthly communications with them, they are pushing and expediting as much as they can themselves. So yeah, but each parcel is going to be case by case. So, well, thank you.
Wow, thank you, Tracy. And thank you, Zachary. So, I mean, I think what becomes clear every time, I don't know if it becomes clear, what is evident every single time is the tremendous amount of work and effort that's going, that is involved with the recovery process. And it is a shared effort from our county offices and the variety of organizations. And as I look at the crowd here, it's not only am I preaching to the choir, but I'm preaching to the music directors of the choirs. Y'all understand it, I get it. But as you know, it's an ebb and flow with who's out in front leading certain efforts, who's supporting those roles and how they're doing that. And sometimes they are community organizations that are trying out in front and sort of demonstrating what the demand is, and so that the county can kind of refine what that is, or it's the county doing that and leading it for us as our formalized voice with state and federal agencies to be able to keep the emphasis. And we've talked a little bit about this before, that it's not just a marathon, but it's a multi-sport. It's like a triathlon, but add some more sports in there, right? Because the endurance to go through every single thing. And I find even these 5 icons up at the top of the recovery plan kind of just helpful to sort of frame the different lines of effort that have been enduring since the teams kind of came together early on in the fire. Many of you here participated in those conversations and events, and still doing so today. And sometimes they overlap, they're interconnected. One supports the other and vice versa. One enables the other. And it's sometimes difficult to see that when money is placed in a certain pot, or it's funding a certain program or project, what that will do in 3, 5, 10 years, right? And when are we going to be able to realize it? And sometimes, like through the iterative process, we may not, right? Because things kind of come and go. But of late, some of the things that you've heard about here, trying to get some services provided here on the school site. Next month, speaking of the county, hopefully you're going to be able to meet with the departments of behavioral health, social services, and public health all together. Once again, just to kind of determine what resources they have, and what they can bring here to Greenville, Canyon Dam area to be able to sort of bridge the gap between, say, Quincy and Chester. And if there's a way that we can sort of do this ad hoc for a little while, temporarily, to have those services available here in a more pronounced way, then that creates a demand, and then it creates yet another demand for formal conversations around long-term permanent services and capacity. So that's an example, but those are the types of things that you can see that, kind of a small ripple to create a larger wave later on. So we'll see what happens. Okay, we're going to back up a little bit. So in December, we were right on the heels of the individual federal tax exemption that was passed at the federal level for fire settlements. And so recently reached out to Assemblywoman Heather Hadwick's office just to find kind of the latest and greatest, as she's a relatively new Assemblywoman, just to hear what she and her office is working on with regard to a state level exemption. As you recall, in September of 2024, there was a letter from Governor Newsom stating why he did not support Senate Bill 542, I believe. And basically saying, hey, we've already gone through the budget cycle. This wasn't planned for. I think what the text was basically saying is that the governor would support it so long as it was something that could be incorporated in the budget cycle. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Bruce.
That's what the veto letter said.
That is what the veto letter said. Okay. So of late, reached out to Assemblywoman Hadwick's office, and a nice person replied back with a variety of legislation that Assemblywoman Hadwick has been supporting, everything from expediting the CEQA process as it relates to wildfire area zones, so that if there's projects that come on the heels of a wildfire, that state and federal agencies can move through the CEQA process a little bit faster, or maybe not at all. And then there was Assembly Bill 429, which I believe was co-authored by Senator Donnelly, according to my the representative in the office. It is talking about the tax exemption for the Dixie Fire, and to include other wildfires in that same sort of era. I think it all goes all the way up to 2024 to include the Park Fire. So I think we should be seeing some more information on this over the next several months, but that's the information that I have for you right now. We've already talked a lot about the Recover California intake event. That'll be in our office just right down the street. 2 representatives for 4 hours from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Even if it's something that you're not necessarily interested in, if you know somebody, and there is a caveat here, and I want to make sure that I read it verbatim. This program is also available to homeowners that would be willing to rent their home to low to moderate income tenants, right? So it's something to at least ask the question. there's so many different case by case scenarios that come up, and I am not qualified to answer them. That's why it's preferred to speak to the case managers that actually work for Recover California, because when you talk about the income qualification, you know, that's it's different for everybody. Everybody's had different finances. So what will and will not be permissible kind of has to be fed into the old you know, calculator there and spit out a number to see if you're going to qualify. I will say that you know, back to the interconnectedness of things, when we're talking about fiber optics and we're talking about broadband, you know, one of the issues that we saw early on was just simply getting onto the platform because of connectivity. The portal itself it's exactly that. It's run through a website. And so if you don't have a home and you're trying to take advantage of this, it can be difficult to find out where you're going to sit to actually go through 39 pages of data. And you have to have that information readily available to be able to scan it, upload it, and communicate with somebody. So, you know, when we talk about like some of the complexities of why or why not the program is or isn't working, you know, the flip side of that is that the single family mitigation is off the charts, right? There's a waiting list for that. So people are able to apply for that. I think on the single family reconstruction, there's also a lot of, you know, just uncertainty about what the ownership looks like and how long do I really own my house, or does the state own it, and so on and so forth. So, but it's worth to come in and ask the question from the experts. On our website, we have information that will direct you to kind of a how-to of filling out a grant with North Valley Community Foundation, who is our fiscal sponsor. So as it relates to other 501c3, C6, C7 organizations, charitable organizations that are working on fire recovery goals or programs or projects, I highly recommend that you take a look at the website, and if you have a project that you need funded, there's a small grant and a large grant application. And I recommend that groups and organizations read the guidelines and submit a grant application. Community supper. Community supper is coming up on this Monday, on President's Day. It'll be at the historic Taylorsville Hall, and it's presented or prepared by the Coffee and Sewing Group this month. And it looks like they've got a menu of soup and sides, so that'll warm you up on a cool evening. But that'll get underway at about 4:30 p.m. at the Taylorsville Historic Hall, and at least till 6:30. Maybe it'll go to midnight. I don't know. It sounds like, you know, soup, salad, and sewing. So anyway, but that'll be happening on Monday. As Tracy alluded to, not on the slide, but we are meeting again, another sort of review of where we are with the National Park Service has an organization within it called the Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. That's a group, an organization within the National Park System Service that works with municipalities on public spaces, on parks, things that are often run close to rivers, and then also or streams, and then also help design trail systems and the like. We've been working with them now for at least 2 years, I think. And there are two general concepts, and the emphasis is on general. One is kind of an A, which is concept A is a little bit more of a traditional park setting. Concept B is a little bit more of a natural park setting. And both of those are just concepts, as the name would imply. They're not hard and fast, like it's got to be this and it's got to be that. There's kind of a hybrid approach. We did have a survey that was out and about from May all the way until August, and got about 90 respondents to that survey, and that information is very helpful. But we'll be talking with this organization on next Wednesday, just to determine next steps, to see if this is their logical off-ramp. If they've said, hey, we've provided you with these options, and now you can kind of think about things like funding, things about you know, directing and putting these things out to bid to actually start to build the park. And then also a couple of things that we need to figure out is who our long-term champions of this park would be. So whether that's the Indian Valley Community Services District or the Indian Valley Parks and Recreation District, as that name would imply. So, but sometimes just aren't what they, sometimes things aren't as what they see, and that's hard to say. Okay. I think we have longtime listener, first time caller. What do we got? Kira, are you on the line to
I am.
talk? Oh, great.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for covering for me earlier, Patrick. I'm sorry I couldn't make it sooner. Just a little chamber update. We had a great showing at our last chamber meeting. I hope that continues. Really some great forward momentum. I'm going to say finally, because it's been pretty slim pickings over the last year with folks coming to the meetings and whatnot. We have a lot of great things happening. Primarily, we really need community members. You don't even have to be a chamber member to help step in and plan some of the events that we've traditionally done. Gold Diggers being one of the main primary ones. If anybody's interested in helping on those committees, Christy Hazelton of Regenberger is heading that up. And so we definitely need some community participation in order to get these events still to happen. The past couple years have been very minimal on volunteers. So big call out for volunteers. You can look at our chamber website. As you know, we've updated that and it has a great calendar source and everything. We have the Easter egg hunt coming up in the near future. But the chamber does support lots of great events all the way through into the light parade in November, that sort of thing. As chamber members, we can help with insurance for events as long as the event is not just for a single member, that it would have public or community involvement or multiple members. For example, the farmers market down at Crescent Country, we can help support things like that. So again, with the grants that Tracy has talked about, I believe we got some extra money in our coffers for that to help the community with that, hopefully inputting things like the signs that may have already been talked about as well for the community. So please contact us either through the website, any of the board members directly if you're interested in getting involved in any of our events. And it could just be as easy as helping coordinate any piece of it that they need. And I think I'm not sure, did Kest speak about the Rotary and the Century Ride coming up in May? Did you guys have any presentations from Rotary about the Century Ride, guys? Sorry, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Patrick or anyone, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Sorry about that, guys. Can you hear me?
Indian Valley that you go, I kind of forget the times there though. And it closes down at 5 o'clock. So if you want to come in and just share your life with bicycle people are just the best people in the world. I'm prejudiced when I say that, but that's okay. You want to come out and meet some wonderful people, help them with a little love that our region gives, be a part of that person and enjoy. All right, thank you, Julian. And I know that there's a website, and we'll push that, we'll put the website on our, we'll put a link on our website as well as our Facebook page, just to get the registration out there.
Hey, back.
Sorry about that. We can hear you now.
Oh, how far did I get? I don't know what happened there.
You were calling upon Cass, but now the Rotary ride has been.
Yay. Yeah, I know they needed some help on their aid stations. So yeah, hopefully the community will step up and help on those as well. Those are quite fun to do. It's a lot of fun to be aid station folks. I was going to finish up with the chamber news that we've finally gotten our previous tax and franchise tax board status all cleared up. So we're able to now look at selling the little lot on Pine Street that has been vacant for years, but that the chamber decided we don't need. So we'll do that. We'll be able to invest the money that we have now and make a little interest income. So very good news on that standpoint, and really looking forward to all the things we can do together as a community. If I could switch hats for just a millisecond, being the patron of the way station. Tracy was mentioning all of the permits and whatnot that are going in as far as the buildings going into town. And we're hoping within the next 2 to 3-4 weeks at the very most, getting our plans in for approval through Tracy's department for the way station and breaking ground early this year. So really, really looking forward to seeing some forward momentum on the four corners there downtown soon. So we'll keep you posted. You'll be able to see what's happening. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Kara. Are there any additional share outs? Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, in front of the camera.
Good afternoon. My name is Bruce Ross. I'm with State Senator Megan Daly's office. I'm officially, as of a couple weeks ago, her press secretary. For those of you, some of you I've worked with over the past years in a variety of circumstances are met, but been up here, before and after the fire and since. But just wanted to say, one, we exist. We're here. We're still committed. There's a lot of communities that have been heavily impacted by wildfires. So community recovery is a very one of the just top shelf issues that our offices will be focused on. And I can't speak for Assemblywoman Hadwick, but I know she very much feels the same way, and she has actually a background in emergency services. So some of this stuff, she's seen a lot of these issues up close and personal, and they're very important to her. Specifically about AB 429. There's a lot of routes that might take, and it might end up being folded into the budget, as you mentioned, that was part of the governor's veto message. But one thing that I would encourage with, I was pretty involved with the work last year. There was a couple different bills to try and get a permanent broad tax exemption for these kinds of circumstances, and then that couldn't pass, and so it was narrowed down to just affecting the Dixie and Mill fires, if I remember right. And then that was vetoed. One thing that we did not do that is a regret, that we had not really done a ton of enlistment of the community to, you need to write a letter to the governor, you need to, make a call to the governor's office to support this. And when it was vetoed, frankly, we were all blindsided, didn't see that coming. And we didn't want to put extra burdens on, oh, you need to send more letters, you need to do more work, you need to tell your story. Frankly, you folks have been through enough, and you're doing enough work at home trying to recover. But it could be helpful to have more letters of support for the bill, and we might do more engagement as the process moves forward to try and make sure that veto doesn't happen again. We will have some communications. We might have some talking points and such that could make it as easy as possible. But we hope to be doing that more, because I think people who've not experienced it don't understand the financial impacts and how this number you think you got that's going to make your losses whole just doesn't, when it just gets cut away in part by taxes. So shouldn't be happening, and we're going to do all we can to make sure that the state is doing its part to help you anyway. Yes.
Petition help with that, rather than having people have to write individual letters, if we could get a petition from people who want to have that approved, would that be something that might help?
If you had a letter and then it was signed by, 100 or 200 or however many, 500, however many you get, community members, absolutely, that's something that you can, file in and they'll acknowledge that it's not just from one individual.
But I understand, individual letters are far more powerful than an email or whatever else.
You don't have to convince your senator and your assembly member of the importance of it. But having letters of support that are kind of part of the file as it goes through the legislative process and then as it goes through to the governor's office can be very helpful. And those, I think, individual letters are helpful. And I think telling personal stories, if you're willing and able, can have an impact. Having community organizations, we are the Dixie Fire Collaborative, we are the Almanor Foundation and Working on Recovery, we are Plumas County Board of Supervisors, and this is, how it's impacting our community. Even especially from the county, those kinds of organizations where it's like, it's not about their money, but it's about their understanding what the impacts on the community are and the importance for recovery. I think that can carry some weight as well.
I'm not sure how to frame this, but my understanding is that this bill is being written specifically for individuals. Is there an effort to expand that out to businesses and organizations that may receive settlements? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Let's talk about that because there are happy to have that conversation. There's at least one amendment to that bill that's already we've talked about. When I saw the initial language, I'm like, thanks, and you missed one. Won't even go into details, but yes, there was a separate bill that did pass last year related to business income taxes. I think it passed. I think that one was signed. But yes, let's happy to have that conversation and try and make sure that that's included. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ross. We appreciate you coming. And I'll be happy to get with you just to kind of get some greater details on some of the 5 Ws of where to send those letters and some of the nuances of making sure that they get to the desired destination. So thank you. All right. Any questions, any additional questions or comments for today? Yes, ma'am.
So all these great things here on the table, if you go to Plumas Bank in Quincy, there's a sandwich board that you made for us that has Dixie Fire Collaborative stuff, and I'm going to be gone all this week. Is anybody going into Quincy that could take those and put those up at the bank? Thank you, Nan. All right.
Thank you for that, Marcia. And Nan, thank you.
You may have reported this already, but where's the DFC with a contribution to the proposed down payment program?
Right, so right now we're waiting, so the Plymouth County Community Development Commission headed up by Roger Diefendorf, and then their sort of adjacent foundation, which is, I think it's the Plymouth County Cooperative. I can't remember the name of it, to be honest. But it's the 501c3 that runs astride of the CDC. Roger, and with the assistance of Clint Cobley, are looking to apply for a grant from the DFC for assistance toward the down payment assistance program. The down payment assistance program is a program that they've sketched out that would apply to first-time home buyers that would be either buying a home or potentially be able to build a home the priority would be Warner Valley, Canyon Dam, Greenville, and Indian Valley, and from the last conversation that we've had. But the DFC is still waiting on a formalized grant proposal or grant request.
You're waiting for a formal request from the development corporation.
That's correct. Mhm. And in that request, the rough numbers that they shared was roughly $800,000 going towards the actual home buyers assistance program. And then another $200,000 that was available for management and administration of the program. The steering committee had a number of questions on both those items. And I think their team was just gonna go back to kind of round that out a little bit, and to provide a little bit more detail and then put in a formal request. Yes, and what they'd indicated was it'd be 500,000 from the DFC with another request to Plumas County. Yep. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, thank you so much. We will have more than likely an April meeting. That third Saturday is actually the Saturday before Easter. So we'll talk amongst the steering committee and kind of think about scheduling to see if that's the right time to do another meeting, or maybe we do a weekend before or weekend something, because that's a big holiday weekend and a lot going on. So, but thank you all for attending. And as always, if you have questions, please email. Thank you.